You may have seen this video on my Bible journaling YouTube channel in which I showed how to take the saran wrap background and make some doodle designs out of it and do some journaling on top of it. And some of you may have chosen to just do journaling. Some of you may decide to do some doodling along with it. There's also an idea that I had for doing a self-portrait and looking at, from our lesson today, what God says about us when we say, I wish I was different. I wish I was like someone else. And what I did was draw a stick figure of myself. You don't have to draw anything fancy. And then I labeled it. I started by just drawing it all in pencil first and writing out all the things that I wanted to label. And then once I got the basic drawing done, then I could go over it all in pen and just erase that portion. And then you can decide if you want to paint it in or if you just want to leave a black and white drawing. You can create your own art, and I'm hoping that some of you might have decided to do that if you were inspired by something the Lord told you. On the art page in your little booklet, there is a picture of this plain background, and I should say it's not really plain, it's watercolored, and then water is dropped into the damp watercolor, creating these beautiful blooms and blossoms. And then the scripture was written over it, and I want to show you how to do that. So I'm just going to put a whole bunch of paint all over this first. I'm going to do it in purple this time instead of the yellow, and you can use whatever color you wish and put just a bunch of color all over the whole thing. I'll speed this up. If you have a teeny tiny brush, again, that's going to be a little hard to do. However, it's not all that difficult to create something like this when you've got just a lot of paint that you're putting on, because watch in just a moment. I'm going to show you how you can blend all these colors so you don't end up with lots of weird brush strokes, but you end up with really cool watercolor types of shapes. So I'm getting some thicker paint in a few places, and I did that by not using as much water. And then I'm going to take some paint on the brush and just tap it so that it sort of splatters. And then while it's still wet, you see how wet it is, I'm just going to move it in a couple different directions. And I love how I got that swirl just on one side. And I could easily put on the left side in the bottom there, I could write a beautiful scripture or do some journaling on the page, and it would be just gorgeous. So don't worry that you have to know how to paint or know how to do anything. You can just let the paint move, and it will just make a beautiful background for your journaling. And look at all of those gorgeous little shapes. If you keep tilting this again and again, you're going to get some smoother color. So if you want to let some of that little texture dry, then just leave it alone and let it dry in place. And peel off the tape if you used any. And look how gorgeous that is. And would be beautiful having some journaling or scripture on top of it, like on this yellow one. Very beautiful and simple, or you can make it more complex by adding a lot more to it. On the YouTube video that is going to be sent to you, unless you already have seen it, there is this one that has the journaling done in the midst of the technique that we did last week when we dripped the watercolor down. And so the journaling just fills in, and you can see it's not tidy. I'm letting it be as messy as my handwriting is. It's just for the sake of remembering what God has said to us in our lesson this week.